Good morning, everyone. My name is Clayton Lulin, and I'm the Marketing Manager for Family Office Metrics. I'd like to welcome you to the first in this new series of webinars called FOM Spotlight. But before we get underway, I've got a few bits of housekeeping that I need to cover. This webinar is being recorded, so if you have to leave early or you get disconnected, you will receive an email with a link to view the recording at your leisure. One of the main purposes of this webinar series is to answer any questions you have for the person we are interviewing, so please ask your questions via the Questions tab on the GoToWebinar software. If for any reason we don't get to your question during the webinar, we will follow up with you. Don't forget to check out our website, which is familyofficemetrics.com, where you can register for all of our events and upcoming speaking engagements, not to mention submit your resume or position descriptions and be a part of our executive placement program. Our website is also the best place to get details on the many consulting services FOM has to offer SFOs, wealth advisors, as well as technology and service providers. It is now my pleasure to welcome John Carroll and Elvira Orza, our participants in this morning's conversation. John is the founder and CEO of Family Office Metrics, and Elvira is the Senior Client Relationship Manager for Trusted Family. Good morning, John and Elvira.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Clayton, for that introduction. We appreciate it, Elvira and I. And Elvira, welcome.
Thank you, John.
To the FOM Spotlight series. We're going to spend 30 minutes, you and I, talking about your business and doing our best to convey the benefits and the opportunities of that results as engaging trustedfamily.net. And so before we go there, though, I'd like to say a few words that for you, those of you in the audience, just to know that this is not a sponsored event. So Trusted Family is not paying Family Office Metrics for this. So this is not an advert. We're doing this because we want you to know, number one, and we think Trusted Family is a terrific platform, and one that if you don't know about it, you should. It may not be perfectly right for you just now, maybe later, maybe never. But in any case, if you're interested in a web-based community management platform for your family, you've got to consider Trusted Family. It's got to be on your short list in a due diligence process. So Elvira and I are going to talk freely about Trusted Family and some of the issues we, and I say we, trustedfamily.net and Family Office Metrics share some clients. So we have shared experience working with clients, and in the interest of full disclosure, it's not necessarily apparent from her short bio on this page, but Elvira and I have worked together closely since we just realized it was since 2003. So we've known each other a long time, and it's great to see you, Elvira.
Well, it's great to see you too, John. Thank you so much for inviting me for this first. It's really an honor, and thank you for your kind words about Trusted Family. I'm really happy to be here. I have to agree that we do need to be on your short list if you're considering any type of community management, family communications tools.
Great. Well, let's go and talk about what I would call the key attributes of Trusted Family. And just as a word to everybody listening, if you have questions as we go through this, just chat them up. I think enter them into the questions panel, and we'll see them as they appear, and we'll take them as we're able. If any questions are asked that we can't get to, Elvira or I or both of us will get back to you. Not to worry about that. And we'll have our contact details at the end too on the last slide, so you'll have an opportunity to jot those down if you need them. And in advance, we got some questions. So we've got some questions from audience members already. So we've got plenty, but if you have one as we go through it, don't hesitate to ask. So let's just spend a few minutes and set the stage about Trusted Family. So tell me, how did the company start? Now, I know it started with Edward. He's the guy I know, and I've known him, I think, since he started the company.
Right.
So
Okay.
tell us the story about how the company started.
Okay, so it's actually the two Edwards, Edward Thiessen and Edward Janssen, who were next generation members of two very large Belgian family businesses. They met at a conference where they started to hear about, the shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves parable, that how family businesses don't last into the third generation, and they started to understand what the challenges were, that it's not what you might think, that it's bad business decisions, but it's really about, more about unprepared heirs, about lack of communication among family members, and that sort of thing. And so they started to look into that problem for their own families. And they realized that a technology solution at the time, Edward Thiessen is a kind of techie guy, and obviously.
And he's a young guy too, right? I mean, when he started this business, he was in maybe his 20s.
Yeah. So he started it, and of course that generation that they're tech natives, so he decided that a technology solution was what they wanted to look for, and they built the Trusted Family platform for their own family businesses.
They own it? Do these two families own this business?
Okay, they are still the majority shareholders, but they have taken in other ownership, and that's just from other client families. So we now have 90 clients, and so some of those client families have also contributed.
Made an investment in the firm and are owners then. Okay. Are any employees owners in the business, or is it just the founders and the investors?
There are a couple.
Okay.
And in fact, when you talk about the employees at Trusted Family, everyone who works, pretty much everyone who works for Trusted Family either has a background in family business or is a member of the family.
Okay. All right. And I see you're all over the world. You're in New York, of course, but you were started in Brussels, and then you have. Is this a new office in Singapore? Or tell me about that.
It's been there for a couple of years.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Like the New York City office, so we opened it 2 years ago.
Okay. And how did the 21 folks split up across the three offices?
Okay. Well, we've got actually 2 in Singapore. We've got 5 here, and the rest are 1 out in Seattle. And,
oh, okay.
Yeah, who is a young family business member.
All right.
Our Seattle, it's our West Coast representative, and then the rest are in Brussels.
So that really allows you to cover all the time zones, as we're saying here. So you've got 24-hour support around the globe. Is that?
Well, the emergency support is 24 hours around the globe.
All right.
But we're pretty much, the business in Brussels or New York, regular business hours or regular business hours. But the sun never sets on Trusted Family. There's always somebody. There's always somebody awake. If you wake up in the middle of the night, you can see somebody.
Yeah. And you mentioned 90 clients. Now, I assume that means client families or entities or groups. So you've got many more users than 90 users, right? So if we took those 90 families and we said, how many users of the system across all those 90 families?
There's something like over 9,000 registered members on the platform.
Oh, wow. Wow, so that's significant.
Yes.
That's a significant number. And if we're talking about clients, because at Family Office Metrics, our focus is principally on the single family office. How many of the 90 clients are single family offices?
The majority, probably about 80 of those, are
really?
Single family.
Okay.
Yes, we do.
So there is some work that you do with, I would call the sell side, multifamily offices, advisors, organizations.
Yes, we do. We do. We have other clients. So the majority are, of course, single family businesses and single family offices. We have a few associations of family office groups, and then we have a number of multifamily offices now too. We're starting to get more into that business.
Mm-hmm. And I don't expect you to give a precise answer here, but a yes or no will suffice. The business is profitable.
Yes.
Good. So let's talk about, got a couple, 3 things up here on this slide that I think are important. Why don't you talk a little bit about these three in turn. Your pricing structure. How do you value and how do you price the offering? Talk to us a little bit about what it takes to get the thing up and running, in a typical implementation.
Mm-hmm.
And then talk to us about what your ideal client looks like, and maybe use that ideal client as for your typical implementation and for your typical pricing structure.
Okay. So can I start with ideal client?
Sure.
Okay. So, as I mentioned in our other conversations that, it's typically a multi-generational family with 10 plus members over the age of 18 with significant assets. Okay, so that's kind of about a minimum. But what makes the ideal client an ideal client? So that typically once you're into the second, third generation, it becomes more complex. The family dynamic is different. You have cousins who, you might have different ownership shares. You might have a family that's spread out. So that's where it becomes very interesting, when you have a lot of different groups that need to communicate on a regular basis and then they're not able to. The other thing that makes an ideal client, and I know we've talked about this before, is a family that realizes the benefit of staying together. When I mentioned about the shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves, that families who realize the financial value of staying together and are willing to make the effort to create that cohesion in the family. So that is really, whether it's a small family or a large family, if that's...
I mean, do you see that as a common theme with your clients? They have a certain value system or some view of their importance as a family that they want to continue, they want to maintain, they want to enable more effectively?
Absolutely, that's critical. It's critical that they have that view of themselves.
Yeah.
Because the platform combines, it's business and family. It's family-to-family communication. It's business to family. It's family office to family.
And you're not doing that for them. You're just enabling them to do that for themselves.
Absolutely. But, just in that question, and then we can talk a little bit about the implementation.
Yeah.
Do we do that for them? We help them to do that. Some of the families are already set up. They have a significant governance structure in place. But even those that are thinking about it, just the structure of the platform facilitates that thought process. Just on the way of who's going to be having access to what information, how do we share information with who, what are the groups we need to set up, how are they working together, how are they all going to be working together to kind of advance this view of the family and to create that cohesion.
So, pricing.
Okay.
That was the last point on this sheet here. You were going to talk a little bit about how you price, and I'm sure that there's some sort of configuration or setup or one-time setup fee or something, and then there's some ongoing subscription fee. Is that how you're based, on a subscription basis?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
It's a combination of implementation advisory, ongoing advisory, and a subscription. So the kickoff advisory and implementation fees, it's basically we work with the family to, as I mentioned, just to define who would be on the platform, to set up the groups, to do any type of customization, to really work with a content strategy. How are you going to...
Is that a pretty flexible process? Do people kind of get to pick and choose how they want the site to look, and who has access and depth of capabilities and that sort of thing?
Yeah, and if you can see here, which you can't see from this screenshot, but you have these all groups here, right? So this is screenshot, so you can't do a drop down on that, but if you drop down, that's very customizable, that you could set up any of the groups that exist in your family ecosystem. For example, if you've got a board, if you've got a family council, any of the subcommittees, the next gen committee, an operating company. So it's all very flexible. You can name it any way you want. You can brand it the way you want. This is our, demo.
So this is like a screenshot of one of your of the site.
Right.
And so I assume that these different sort of blocks of data or information that we're looking at are, call them widgets. You can move those around and you can configure the presentation to different people in different ways.
Yeah, so basically what you're seeing right here is a news feed, and as you can see that everybody's news feed is going to look slightly different based on who they are in the family and what groups they're a member of. So what you can see here for this first board meeting, it might not be too clear to see, but that would be the board has access and maybe one other group. So each person will have a different view based on who they are in the family.
And do you find it's best to have somebody on the family side who is a champion or totally sold on this, or is responsible to be the administrator. I mean, you need somebody on your customer, on your client side, to really take responsibility for managing this information.
Yeah, you do, but you don't. When you say manage, it's not necessarily a full-time equivalent. What we typically have, what you need to have, is a champion. You need to have somebody who recognizes that this is something that the family will find important, and that they will put the time in to make it work. And also we have, typically we'll have a project team, and we like to have members from, for different generations or from different constituency groups within that project team and the first, during the implementation process.
Okay. Question I guess I have about the value of the platform to your customers, your clients. You're talking about having a champion, having somebody be an administrator on that side. They're sort of sold on the concept, but then you probably have to convince other family members and maybe a CFO or somebody why this is important, why we should spend the money and the energy on this and do this. What method do you use, or how do you present your case to the family and show the value of this? Can you do that in dollar and cents terms, or is it more of a benefit, soft benefits to the family about having this community created and ongoing?
Okay, well, you can do it in a number of ways. You can do it in, pure financial ways. You could just, like, if you have a family business and it's privately held, all right, imagine if you're a public company, what are you spending on shareholder relations? Why are you spending that money on shareholder relations? Because you know that it's important, right? So that's one way. And then typically, the family councils will have a budget for family communication, and they'll recognize that. But then you might have, from another perspective, you might have an operations group, and here is where you can really show the value of it, is that say your family office, how much time are they spending chasing the family members to get information from them? How much time are they spending, setting up meetings and trying to get people to work together on different projects and gathering feedback from the family and that sort of thing? How much can you value having a secure place to share sensitive documents? And then, another financial way is, if you do have a family portal, what if you did it yourself?
Yeah.
What would that cost to you?
Well, it costs, you're in the software development business, and you've spent a lot of money developing this, and you've probably got 3 or 4 or 5 or maybe more developers, programmers, people.
We've got 5 full-time developers working on this for 7 years. So, well, we didn't have 5 in the beginning, but now we do, and it's a full-time effort.
Sure. Well, that makes a lot of sense, and I can see why people would appreciate, the benefits of your offering. So we share some clients. I mentioned that at the outset, and one of those clients I know is using the platform to further their family's legacy. We talked of operating company for 100 years. Dispersed family members, but very, very high and well-formed, well-thought-through, agreed-to value structure, value system that they want to continue, and also to continue the legacy of the family that did the operating businesses through good works in the community. They're in the Northeast. And I know you're working with them, and tell me how they've used Trusted Family to further those family values.
Okay, in so many ways. I mean, they use the platforms for historical archives. As you mentioned, there's no longer an operating business, so how do you educate the family on what it means to be part of that family, what it means to have that legacy? They do a lot of philanthropy, and the platform enables them to share information about that, with all the different philanthropy projects that they have going on. The family's able to do that. They also have shared resources and shared properties, and so they use the platform to manage those.
Mm-hmm.
So it really gets everything going very smoothly. And they have, family council, and they have all their committees and their board meetings, and it's all set up around the platform.
Yeah, and we share another client who's made a number of demands upon you around, technical, kind of the technical end of the platform, security. They also have some special requirements around data management and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been a process, and I think you would agree that they've kind of raised the bar on you in some areas and pushed you in some areas. All good.
Right.
And as a mutual client, I know they do the same thing with me. So so I totally get that.
Yep.
But what I sense from Trusted Family is that you want to continue to expand the platform, grow with your clients. As they express needs, you want to meet those needs and evolve too. So you're not static selling, hey, this is what we do, take it or leave it. You're listening to them and incorporating client needs into your future releases.
That's absolutely how we do that.
And how does that work in practice?
How does it work in practice?
Yeah.
Well, we have our product manager, Neil Mullick, who he's the genius at that, and he is really able to handle all of the requests and put that into a roadmap that makes sense for everybody. So
how often do you communicate that roadmap to your client?
Frequently. In fact, you can see the roadmap on the platform.
Aha.
Yeah.
So that's really transparent about, like, somebody has a need for a particular report or a particular view or a particular this or that. It gets logged in there, and you reveal that to them in terms of your release schedule.
Right, and not only that, but we also involve them in that process. We kind of teach our clients how to communicate best with us so that we can communicate with the product team. If you ask for something vague, it won't be as communicated as well. If you ask for something specific, and not only that, but you give us a use case, so we understand what the use case is. If you request a feature, that's one thing, right? But if you request the feature along with a use case, then we could look at how are other clients using the platform? What features, what applications are they using for different things? I mean, I get requests all the time, like how do you think it would be best? We have a family member that has a new business and they want to launch it and they want family member feedback. Where should we put it? Should be in a family announcement? Is it a status update? Can we create a custom app for that?
Okay.
And that's how the platform really evolves.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like you're eating your own cooking.
Oh,
if you're in community management, you've got a community called your client base.
Exactly.
And you've got to manage that community.
Yes.
And take input from them, and then also give them feedback.
Yes.
Look, we're just about out of time. I do want to show this slide, which we call the systems ecosystem, and this is a slide that we've used for years and years to describe the relationship in the family office between what's in that blue box down there at the bottom. I'll call that the accounting software and reporting software and so forth. That is, kind of the CFO's domain. In relationship to what's in the upper box, the orange-rimmed box there, which is all about risk management and performance measurement and research and due diligence, which we might call the chief investment officer's domain. So we've got, in a family office, you've sort of got that investment function, you got that financial control function. Where they meet in the middle is oftentimes where Trusted Family would fit just perfectly to unite the ability for both of those interest groups who are working with the same set of numbers but from different perspectives to communicate with their clients, with each other, using the platform. So it can be a tool for relationship management. It can be a tool for document management.
Absolutely.
We can save all the manager reports out there if people want to see that sort of stuff. And so it really gives us a lot of opportunity to create the glue to stick together the different constituencies in the family office. So that's where Family Office Metrics thinks that TrustedFamily.net fits. And just one final question. It's not all work and no play over at Trusted Family. So if we go to the next slide, we'll see some pictures of people who look pretty darn happy. And I think that Elvira, you're even in one of these pictures. There you are. Yeah, actually.
I am looking pretty happy.
You appeared in two pictures.
How about that?
Huh? 40%. Good job.
Yeah.
So in the lower left is Edward Thiessen, right?
Yes, that's Edward Thiessen, yep.
That we were talking about, one of the founders, and he's up there. Actually, he's in 4 out of the 5 pictures.
Yes, he is.
So good
I don't
job,
think
Edward. But these are pictures from your New York office?
Yes, this is the New York team.
All right.
Part of the New York team, not everybody.
And in your role, you're out and about. You're not just sitting at your desk in New York. You're out and about talking.
Yeah, we're out and about, yes,
Okay.
absolutely, talking to people in the Americas, the U.S. and
Get to Canada, and you head south of the border too?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right, great. Well, look, we've got a couple of questions, and we've got a couple of minutes, and I wanted to get to those. We've got a question from John Luca, and John Luca is asking Elvira you this question. Hey, says, with, quote, with over 4,000 family businesses with revenues of over 50 million euros, Italy might be one of the largest markets for your platform. Could you expand on your record there, number of customers, relationships, etc.?
We do have customers in Italy, and we actually do have a client service relationship manager who does speak Italian. So we are definitely, I mean, we're European, founded in Europe. So
yeah.
That was where our growth initially came from in the European market.
What plans do you have to expand the language of Trusted Family beyond English?
Oh, well, we already have it. We have the platform right now. You can see it in probably 10 different languages.
Italian is one of those?
Italian is one of those. And you can just, you have a little drop-down menu, and you can pick your language.
Pick your language. Awesome, awesome. One other question. Is your application also aimed at multifamily offices or only at single-family offices and family businesses? Now, I think we discussed that a little bit at the front, and you said maybe 80 plus out of your 90 clients are single-family offices, but you do have some multifamily offices. What would you describe as the major distinction between an MFO or an advisor and a single-family office?
Well, clearly, it's a slightly different product. I mean, with just one family, you have a lot of the family-to-family communication.
Yeah.
So the MFO, you basically have the same kind of a structure. It's about communicating to different clients, you know, the access levels, being able to share information. And at the end of the day, the MFO is a bunch of families, right? So they're serving families. So that family part of it is still there, but it's a different product.
Got it. Got it. Well, look, we're out of time. Thank you so much for joining me today in the FOM Spotlight.
Thank you, John.
TrustedFamily.net. And everybody out there, for more information on Trusted Family, you've heard her speak today. You saw her picture. That's Elvira. You can reach her 212-472-1890. Her email is there, and, of course, her website. And if you need to talk to me, give me a buzz, 212-847-7452. I am interested in hearing from anybody in the audience about who I should interview next. So if you have a firm that you'd like to subject to the interview musings of John Carroll, let us know. Give us a buzz. You know, write me an email or give us a call. We'll be happy to take your advice on that. So for TrustedFamily.net and Elvira Orza, this is John Carroll saying thank you so very much for joining us today. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, John.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.